Ladies and gentlemen, another Thursday is upon us. Welcome to Certified Cinema, and this is airing number 10. Ladies and gentlemen, 10 out of 10. We made it. This is a big milestone for us. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in from day one, and you are here to airing number 10. Once again, this is Certified Cinema, your number one entertainment plug when it comes to all things movies and TVs and pop culture. And I am your ever dependable host, movie reviewer, recommender, and nerd evangelist, Champez Nawiri, and you are listening to Icon Radio. Thank you so much for tuning in and staying with us. And as always, we have some hot topics lined up for you, hot hits. You heard it here first. We bring the heat and the hits when it comes to music. And for our topic of the day today, we are talking about why Kenyan movies look and feel the same. And we have a special guest in studio who I will introduce shortly. Right after that, we will go to our review of the day, which is the latest Spike Lee joint starring Denzel Washington. I'm talking about Highest to Lowest. And of course, we will get to news and updates and close it off with your favorite segment of the show, which is Read the Room. Read the Room is the segment where we highlight movies and TV shows to watch this week based on global events in entertainment and current affairs. And we have some hot topics, that will be guiding what we'll be watching because, once again, art imitates life, life imitates art. And that's what Read the Room is all about. But without further ado, we would like to get to our guest interview of the day. And we have a very special guest for you. Now, this is coming off as last week's topic of the day. This is part 2 of that conversation where we asked, why do Kenyan movies look and feel the same? Which is a sentiment that most people in Kenya have been expressing. And we did our deep dive into it. That was our banter between myself and Jagi, aka the Hotep from Nairobi, trying to wrap our heads around this sentiment. But today we have someone who is actually in the industry and we would like her perspective on things, right? So who we have today is Gertrude Mblema. She is the comms and communications and event manager at DocuBox East Africa. DocuBox is East African documentary fund organization, and according to them, they have a manifesto which is to reject the notion that African films must appeal to the basest of African instincts to find the largest audiences and refute the notion that African cinema has to be quickly and crudely made to be successful. This just sounds to me like a summary of we want tunataka kutoa hii notion ya Kenyan movies. We just want excellent movies. And that's what they're here about. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I want to introduce to you once again the communications and events manager at DocuBox East Africa, who are also the organizers of the coolest film festival in Africa. I'm talking about Shots, and Shots, and we will get into that. Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to Gertrude Mblema. DJ, finya your glass.
Thank you.
How are you
so
doing,
much.
Gertrude?
I'm good. How are
Unafilaje?
you? I feel pity.
Do you feel gassed? Nimepitia kwa website ndi change
Yeah, I
portfolio.
actually love that you've read the manifesto. That's really cool.
That's
love
powerful.
it.
In
yeah.
personal.
In personal.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank
Is
you so
this
much.
your first radio interview?
It is.
Nice.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
So that just tells me we will not take it easy on you.
Please. I begged you.
But you communications manager, I get the impression maybe you've done this a lot. So I'm surprised ukisema it's your first radio
it's different.
interview.
It's different when you're behind the scenes and then you have to come in front of the camera, which I'm not used to. But we'll flow. We'll see.
Yes. I know you'll
Yeah.
do good.
Yeah.
I know you're a veteran. And if not, we are glad to be holding your hand and taking you through this journey.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so
Usijali.
much.
We'll take care of you.
Yeah.
But tunataka to expose kidogo. We want to get, before we get into the industry bit, we want you to connect with the people.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
I have a few questions about, you as a person,
Okay.
and what relates, how movies and TVs relate to you.
Okay.
We want to know what you watch and what you like, right? And
Yeah.
we also we want you to tell us about you without telling us about you.
Okay.
So,
Interesting.
if you could describe 2025 for you so far with a movie title, what would the movie be?
Oh wow. So my year has been quite interesting. I feel like I've come out of my shell so much. And if I'm thinking of any movie or film right now, it's The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. So this is a film, I think it's from Malawi, based in Malawi.
Yeah.
It premiered in Sundance.
Yeah.
And it's on Netflix at the moment. It's about this boy who was making, I think he was fixing radios and stuff. I haven't watched it, but I've read about it.
Yeah.
And I was so intrigued. So he makes these radios, and then one time the whole community goes on drought.
Yeah.
And then he literally builds a windmill. And I feel like that's me right now. Like I'm coming out of my shell so much. Even being here,
Yeah.
just being here is just me coming out of my shell, out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So I'm really loving that, and that's my ear. Yeah.
Nice,
In a
nice.
nutshell.
Okay,
Yeah.
so are you a creative, an inventor, or are you, because you're saying you're like the boy who harnessed the wind?
Yeah.
You mean like coming out of your shell,
Yeah.
or even professionally, breaking barriers? That's good to know.
Yeah, so it's more of that. Like obviously my career wise, like my professional life, how it's and even just like with friends and family and how I'm coming, even going out. Like I feel like I've just been outside so much this year compared to where I was, back then.
Nice.
So there's that, just embracing life and kind of kicking it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I should add that to it's been on my watch list for a long time.
Please watch it. I should watch it.
Yeah.
I'm referencing something I haven't watched, but I've heard of it so much.
Yeah.
And I totally love the whole synopsis of the film. And DocuBox was actually fortunate to actually do an impact screening for it in Meru. Yeah.
Meru.
Yeah.
Are we invited?
No, it happened. It happened back then. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was our show, ladies and gentlemen, because we don't do interviews with people who don't invite us to their events.
Wrap it up.
It's over. No. Consider it's over.
Yeah.
But not yet.
Yeah.
So, okay, for me, I would say it's In Pursuit of Happiness.
Oh, yeah.
Not just with reference to the title, not like the tragic events, but, we are all in this trying to be more settled and have peace of mind. Yeah. So that's mine. That's something
Okay.
you can
I've
take
watched it. I
take
love
home.
it.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
loved it too.
Yeah.
I almost cried, but me
Same.
gangster.
Yeah.
Do you prefer binge watching or one episode a week?
Binge watching for sure. I feel like I'm so curious. I don't like waiting. I'm so impatient. I want to know what's happening next. And if I ever there's a time I've tried I've watched 4 episodes
Yeah.
and put it on hold, but it was constantly on my mind. I was just like, no, I want to get home and just finish this series. And that was Lost. I don't know if you've watched Lost.
Yeah, I've watched Lost.
Yeah. So I think I'm a binge watcher for sure. I'll stay the entire night.
So for you, the era of streaming is working for you.
Yeah.
Not like in the past where you were watching something on TV and then you had to wait for next Tuesday.
Yeah.
What was the name of those soaps we used to watch? I'm trying to remember.
There
one.
was Ruby, I think.
Yeah, and
There
like
was
Storm of
Storm of a Paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you will call it a second.
We'll call it this. I just used to, and there was some that were airing I think at around 6 and 7, after school, 4
Yeah.
or 5 there, and I used to rush home just to catch them.
Really?
So there's that. But I also feel like streaming is coming back to the whole thing of dropping episodes.
Yeah.
But have you seen that thing with Showmax?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think Showmax is mostly like that. And for me, for a show I'm really interested in, I'd rather that. Because I just
Oh.
want to watch it now and get the story.
Yeah.
But if it's something that halfway in, halfway out, I'd rather wait for the whole thing to drop. Then I'll come
Okay,
binge watch it.
yeah.
Binge watch it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Last one. Quickly,
Okay.
and shortly.
Okay.
In one sentence,
Mm-hmm.
defend your defend your preference.
Mm.
Which of these three do you prefer?
Mm-hmm.
Nollywood, Hollywood, or Riverwood?
Oh man.
For those who don't know,
Yeah.
Nollywood, Nigeria movies,
Of course.
Hollywood, America, Riverwood, Kenya.
Kenyan.
Yeah.
So which one will I pick or prefer?
Which one would you prefer?
I
If you were to get movies from one of these and die with them.
Oh, that
Like,
them
don't
is
watch movies from any other industry.
Yeah. Okay,
Just
now
one.
that puts a new angle to it. I'll definitely pick Riverwood. I feel like I'm pro everything Kenyan. And I feel like also Kenyan films are coming up quite strongly lately. But I also love Hollywood. I feel like who doesn't love Hollywood? You know, the production, the quality. So if I was to die with one, oh my God, I'm sorry, guys. Hollywood.
I think everyone would go Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because with as much as we want to support the local scene, it's still growing. And I feel like there are a lot of qualms when it comes to the audience. People are not so settled in, hence the topic today. You know, there's this sentiment that if you've heard someone say movies are Kenya, huwaziko, blah blah blah. You know, to me it means there's a certain notion in their minds somewhere that Kenyan movies are kind of the same, you know. And that's why I don't lean towards them, because you know, they are a certain way, right? And now when you do the deep dive, that's why you start to feel, okay, they're kind of the same. From a consumer perspective, you can see we have like the same actors, actresses, the same filmmakers. But first of all, for you as you know, not as a professional, just as a fan, or even as a professional as well, do you agree with that sentiment that Kenyan movies look and feel the same?
Yeah, so this is quite an interesting topic. Okay, as far as actors, I know there's the whole topic about, you know, having and like always like, you know, repurposing the same actors.
Yeah.
So that there's that. But I feel like as far as like look and the same, that's quite broad and diverse, because I've had the privilege of watching so many Kenyan films that we've supported, for example, under so many projects that are very diverse in story and how they're even produced. So I don't think I agree, and I feel like the platforms are there that are showcasing Kenyan films. It's just that people don't have that range, or maybe they're not being marketing properly. So I do not agree per se, but I get where people would come from with that statement. Yeah.
So you think people are, say, like underexposed in a way, or it's an industry problem? What would you say is causing people to say they look and feel the same?
I think being underexposed, because if we're being honest, there's so many films out there right now, Kenyan films. Like if I asked you, what's the last film you watched? A Kenyan film. Because there's so many.
The last Kenyan film. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Now I feel guilty.
See?
Wait. Why are you putting me on the spot? You're the one who's supposed to be on the spot.
Yeah, but...
let me think. I would say Nairobi Half-Life. I rewatched it.
I am actually flabbergasted.
I know it's old, but
Yeah.
I rewatched it recently.
Okay.
Yeah. If I was to say the latest one that came out recently, Inside Job, that was on Netflix.
Okay, yeah.
So I watched Inside Job, and then I rewatched Nairobi Half-Life. It was on our Read the Room recommendations for last week, so I just went back home and rewatched it. Yeah.
So let me tell you, there's so many Kenyan films. I can almost mention, let me see, there's Subterranea by Likarion and Bithi. And it's so different from what you've seen. So it's about like these guys who are trapped in a bunker and they try to get their way out. I haven't watched the full series, but it's, oh my God, it's so interesting. There's one about like, I don't know, Big Girl, Small World. Yeah, have you watched it? I feel like that film is amazing.
I've only seen the trailers.
Yeah.
And it's it was a movie. Was it not a TV show?
It's a series. It's actually a series. Yeah. And I feel like also just having people tell stories about, body, and in Kenyan, like we never have that angle. So you see, the stories are out there and very diverse. So I think there's Kenyan films out there. People just need to go and look for them. Like, don't be lazy. Go on Showmax. Showmax showcases African films. So go on there, look at the films that have dropped, follow the artists and creatives that you know. Because I promise you, stories are out there. So I don't support that statement. Yeah.
So here's my diagnosis and why I feel this is true. When it comes to concepts, I believe the concepts are different. Like you said, Subterranea, Big Girl, Small World, Inside Job, everyone has a different story. But when it comes to like the aesthetics of it and how like that's what I mean by look. The costume design, set design, the quality of how the thing looks in terms of camera shots, and feel in terms of the storytelling, how the film is paced, the plots, the dialogue, how it's written. I feel like they feel the same, even the actor's portrayal. So when it comes to looks, I summarize, it comes down to like production and budget, of course. Because you're not like, like we don't have like IMAX and Panavision. There are restrictions when it comes to like where you can shoot around the city. In places like New York, you see they allow shooting throughout the day, or certain streets where it's constantly booked. But here you're restricted to maybe a certain studio. Maybe that's why some sets may look the same. And when it comes to feeling the same, it's kind of, when it comes to the writing, most of the actors, directors are coming from theater. So like theater writing and acting is
so different
from film writing and acting, and that's what is crossing over. So the first half of it, maybe you could help me dissect the first half of it. I know maybe nimeanza kuwa bias. I want to confirm my own suspicions, but okay. Most people talk about budget, right? And DocuBox, the way I understand is you also help with, funding filmmakers, right? Before we get to DocuBox's investment with funding filmmakers, right? Believe you have to look at the problem first, which is budget, right? So do you think Kenyan films look the same because of the budgets, or is it a matter of how that budget is implemented?
So that's also quite interesting, because I feel like, yes, for sure, there could be budget constraints on how, like, the production could have gone, maybe using different locations, costume, like we said, and set designs. So budget for sure is a factor. On how they look, I don't know. I feel like budget for sure. What was the question again?
If the budget affects why most of the film look the same, which you said it's a factor.
It's a factor, yeah.
So is it a matter of how just having limited budget, or you could have another filmmaker with the same budget but a totally different product because they implemented it different? Because I'm guessing, like, if I'm a filmmaker and I've come to DocuBox with my documentary and I say it needs some funding, right? My movie would look different than, if DocuBox funded my movie and it funded yours, they would both look totally different. So is it a matter of implementation from like what you've seen with filmmakers that you've worked with, or is it just a matter of the amount itself?
So amount, yes. I also feel like, so how DocuBox operates in guiding even filmmakers, there's always like workshops and labs, and you kind of are trained on how to, like, go step by step. There's the development stage, there's the shooting stage and all that. So by the end of it, you kind of know where to place the money. I do feel like that's a factor. So maybe at the back end, I'm talking like maybe commercial films. So I don't know how that goes per se, but I will say maybe there's something about like maybe not learning how to utilize the money correctly. So because even if you go deep now into marketing, I don't think marketing budgets are ever allocated for Kenyan films, which is such a huge gap in the Kenyan film industry. So I do think both kind of play a factor. So one, budget constraints for sure, and how they're used and implemented. Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned marketing.
Yeah.
Because I would say shots is one way of marketing the film.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about Kenyan people being underexposed to film, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just interested to know, like, what would be your approach as a professional when it comes to, say, I've made my own film.
Yeah.
Like I really like animation. You remember, like, and I think I have this preference from, like, when we were kids, Saturday morning, you wake up, you have to watch
Cartoon Network.
Yeah, Cartoon Network, the likes of, even up to now, I still feel an urge to watch Samurai Jack in the morning. Like,
oh,
every
God,
morning.
yeah.
I feel like that's the best cartoon ever made. We'll debate about that. But, so if I was to make my own animation, and I've come up with it, and I've come to DocuBox, and I say, hey guys, I want this funded and marketed.
Yeah.
So what's the process like with you guys in terms of choosing the film to fund, and the process? Do you also come into marketing to make sure my film is exposed to people?
So if I can take us through the process for how we fund, I feel like how we fund our films are very project-based. So depending on a donor. So maybe a donor will come and be like, hey, we want to give money to DocuBox to help us make films around climate, because we do a lot of documentary films. So we'll put out the call. It's very open to everyone, but mostly in East Africa. Filmmakers apply, and of course you're selected with the ones with the strong pitches, and that's how people get selected. So we don't do like I don't want to use this word, unsolicited. Like you don't just shoot an email and then we pick it up, because we try and make it as fair and transparent as possible. So most of our funding is literally open. It's on our socials, it's on our website. That's the entire process, and it's also very project based. However, we do have an annual DocuBox grant, and it happened this year. So that's very open to anyone. Like, we fund feature documentaries, short fiction, and then short documentary as well. So we were funding 3 of these categories, and that's open to like any idea you have literally in mind. That was open to everyone, and that was very broad in East Africa. So we're talking Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Uganda, but that's basically the process.
So when you fund, you just give me the money and then me nijipange. How I produce the film, how I market it, it's up to me.
No, absolutely not. So of course there's the lab. So the first step is you get selected. You come for a story lab where you're trained. Maybe there's a story narrative. There's obviously the editing beat. There's the production beat, post-production as well. So we're with you through the entire journey. After the film is dropped, we use it for impact screenings. So we go to schools, communities, screen the films, and we also help you apply to we send you opportunities to apply for festivals. We've had so many films supported by DocuBox, premiere in Sundance. Think of all the major festivals in the world. We've had that, and it's because of course our alliance. But then the film, the rights are yours. You can do anything, and we try and push it to just become global.
So with the grant, and I'd like to ask a question from Njagi, who was our co-host last week and a producer on this show, aka the hotel from Nairobi. I got you, bro. So his question is, when you're with the grant and you have those genres and you're choosing which film to fund. So when you're choosing the stories to fund, it's more like matchmaking in terms of finding, is it more like, finding the filmmaker and their story and a certain subject, or is it just more about going into their pitch and seeing the potential, like this sounds like a good story and we want to coach you? Or do you always have like a certain subject and that filmmaker has to match, or their film has to touch on that certain subject?
Okay,
Or
so
both?
I think both. So obviously a strong pitch is a strong pitch if you have like maybe a good storyline and also how you're going to utilize the money, because that has to be there. If I'm going to give you any tips, is when you're pitching a film to be granted, please also state how you're going to be using the money. I think that's strong, especially when it comes to funders. They want to see how, your plan from development and all that. I do think also the subject matters. So if we see, maybe for example, you're talking about subject and filmmaker. So if a filmmaker is talking about something, I want to give something random, The Boy Who Wants the Wind, for example, and you're from there, you've experienced drought, for example, and you're the filmmaker telling a story about drought, or you're a filmmaker telling about losing your family because there was some sort of war, you had to migrate, immigration and all that. So it matters a lot if you've had to experience that and you're the person telling the story. So that's quite strong, I think. And that's why we say, as a filmmaker, try and tell stories that are very personable to you, because then it becomes authentic. So it's both ways.
So if you're talking about personal stories,
Yeah.
here's my pitch.
Campus.
Have you heard of this genre called like found footage film?
Found footage film?
Yeah.
No.
Think about like Cloverfield. It's shot in this style where someone's like recording themselves and then an alien is attacking, or it's like a horror movie. I want to do a found footage film.
Okay.
Of just me going on vacations, and the subject is local tourism. I'll go to Diani, I'll go to Masai
That's a good
Mara.
one. Yeah.
Fund me. Is that a strong pitch?
Tutaongea kando.
Because I want people to watch this and discover tourism in Kenya.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about the audience, like we said, this feeling of movies are Kenyan is the same. Comes from the audience, that feeling of sameness, and business wise, there's what the people want, and then now the business adapts to that. In the case of film, now it's audiences like certain kind of stories, and now filmmakers are adjusting to that. So in Kenya, it's like the ghetto story, the love story, the comedy story. That's why most filmmakers keep on recycling this story, just a different setting.
Yeah.
So do you think it's the audience guiding the filmmakers, or is just the filmmakers being like, this is what's working?
Yeah.
I have a daring idea, but I don't want to exploit. Because I believe Shorts has a lot of filmmakers with diverse ideas and concepts. And I'm thinking these are daring and bold. But what's on mainstream is just, the usual love story, the ghetto story, the comedy movie.
Yeah.
So is it just an adaptation to the audience, or, the filmmakers are just not experimental enough?
Oh, so that's a good one. I feel like it's both ways, to be quite honest. First of all, let's talk about how Kenyans, do they support Kenyan films? Let's start there. Starting with your campus.
I support 100.
Yeah. So I feel like if people are exposed, let's go back to the whole topic of being exposed, and you see what's out there, then you have hunger for seeing more. I reference Subterranea again. When it dropped, there was such good reception, and I love that how nowadays people talk on Twitter. You never used to see that before. And that's a form of marketing, because people are debating and talking about the storyline. So I feel like it's both ways. The audience obviously not being exposed enough to know hey, there's more, and filmmakers can play around, different storylines, different stories, not just the Nairobi city hustle, because I feel like that's what we see a lot. And back to the filmmakers, perhaps that could be the reason as well, seeing what drives the market. But I've had the privilege of seeing like very diverse stories, and people have diverse stories out there. It also goes back to budgeting. You know, it's easy maybe to make a film about thieves or something like that, more than Subterranean again, because it's a whole set, you know, a bunker. So I think it's both ways. Budget does play a part, but there's also the being underexposed aspect. Yeah.
So with your event, I see that there are a lot of short films, right? I'm just curious to know, and to me it seems like a solution when it comes to exposing the audiences to different styles, different filmmakers. So is that part of like your mission or like vision for the event, to expose filmmakers to the East African audiences? And if not, maybe you could just shed some light on what the idea of the event was and what you're hoping to accomplish with, you know, by screening lots of films all at one place.
So maybe just to give a bit background about Shots and Shots. The idea was definitely born to showcase African films, not just Kenyan films, to the local market and local audiences. So I do think it's a platform for filmmakers, first of all, to get their work seen by people who love film, and also exposing the audience to, like, you know, different type of films, and that's short films, right? So I think it taps into like, come and see how it's gonna be received by the audience, right? And then maybe that can be advanced into a feature or something. But if, Shots was born with the idea of obviously showcasing African films to local audiences, seeing what's out there, and of course supporting like our filmmakers and creatives. So many people get to shoot films and they don't get seen at all. So I feel like that was basically the idea, and in a very fun, relaxed way. You know, we started off in a cinema for sure, but we moved to, you know, this outdoor space where people come dressing in shots and taking shots, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, but just to make it very relaxing. And then you get to meet the filmmakers, talk to them, ask questions. All of these questions we try and figure out. That's the space for filmmakers. And we also have a master class. So that's another angle for Shots and Shots. We try and give super master class 2 hours max. Regarding any topic you can think about, budget, production, experimental stuff like AI right now. And that's, we'll draw back to what masterclass we're gonna be having. But okay,
that's interesting.
Yeah,
because I agree with what you're saying in terms of, maybe I'm a prime example, because I've only mentioned when I watch Kenyan films, it's always those 3 stories: a love story, the ghetto story, or like a romance kind of film. So I need more exposure.
Yep.
And so, which brings me to marketing.
Yes.
What's the most, if you can give an example, what's the most creative way you've seen a Kenyan film being marketed? Because you see, like with US, you can think about, what immediately comes to mind is like Deadpool and Wolverine. And they were marketing it with mustard and ketchup, you know, red and yellow. What's the most creative way you've seen right now?
Unfortunately not. I feel like most of how films try and get into the market is always premieres, you know. You call a bunch of filmmakers in one room, try and premiere. I haven't seen one unique marketing aspect that has kind of like, you know, blown my mind, or maybe I was like, okay, this is so different. Or maybe I don't know. So maybe I need to go back and do my research. But I haven't seen one yet. But that would be an amazing angle. You know, even Barbie, like how Barbie was marketed, remember? But I feel like though there's conversations about marketing rising right now, and there are people like Talk Film to Me, her name is Nkatha. She's trying to like bring that aspect of, you know, how like thinking about marketing before you even get to shooting, because marketing should come before, you know.
I think you could do a masterclass for that, maybe later on. And then have my commission there for the suggestion. Thanks, guys. I'll be rich. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm also trying to think like the filmmaker.
Yes.
Because you see, even right now with the box office, you'll see when they're reporting, with Hollywood movies, when they're reporting returns, there's pre-marketing and then post-marketing. And you might find a film has made back its budget, but then you put in marketing, and then now you realize you've gone at a loss. They might have spent like 90 million, they make back 108, but they still report a loss because there's marketing. So filmmakers tend to feel there's the risk of a commercial flop.
Of course.
You get?
Yeah.
So is shots like a test drive, or like maybe a safe space for filmmakers to be daring and experimental without the fear of the commercial flop.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking if we have more spaces for that, and then just me and my vacation movie,
Yeah.
and we invite people to come and watch, like I would be more inclined to bring my film to your festival, knowing I'm not going to lose money.
Yeah.
All the money I have is for production when people come to see it. And then, we have more filmmakers being more daring with concepts and genres, putting that to the market, and then now the audiences responding to that and saying, okay, Kenyan movies are in a class of their own. Every filmmaker has a different concept.
Yeah.
It's just that it's coming from Kenya. So is shots like a safe space for that? Can I just bring my movie there to test drive it without the fear of it's going to flop? Amamtani charge.
No, I definitely think Shots and Shots does provide that safe space for people to experiment, especially because how Shots and Shots works is we try and have different editions every other edition. So an edition has like a different theme. Going back to last year, our edition was on Afrofuturism, right? So we were showcasing short films about Afrofuturism. And I feel like that gives filmmakers the will and motivation to make films around these things. For the past, I think, 5 years, we've been showcasing films around Halloween as well. So like local horror films, of course, Valentine's and Mzalendo, about resilience as Kenyans and as Africans as well. So going back to that question, I do think Shots and Shots does give that safe space and a stepping stone for filmmakers to be able to submit any wild ideas they have and having it be showcased to people who actually love film.
Talking of wild ideas, what's the most surprising thing you've learned from the about Kenyans or East Africans in general, from the documentaries that you've funded so far? That you saw this and was like, wow, this is wild in terms of the documentary itself and the story it was focusing on.
So there's one in mind which I won't speak about right now, but I do think what has maybe taken me aback, not really surprised me, is the fact that Kenyans and also Africans are quite bold in what they want to put out there, because I feel like films is also an angle for trying to tell our stories authentically, and I feel like that has really blown my mind, because before I joined now DocuBox, I was a consumer as well, and just seeing that the filmmakers who are very bold to tell these stories was like, okay, I love this is incredible.
So you say before you joined DocuBox, you used to watch it as a consumer. You used to be a consumer. And right now you've been exposed to a lot of film because of what you do right now at DocuBox. And I feel like for me as a consumer and a chunk of my audience who are the casual viewer, they have this sentiment that what you're talking about, Kenyan movies look and feel the same, right? But for you, as being in the industry or now coming into the industry, you're saying no, there's a lot of diversity. You guys are just underexposed. So I want to take you back to your consumer days.
Okay.
When you were a consumer, did you also have the same thought?
Yes.
And what was it then that made you say that? And do you think like it's changed? Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think I had the same mindset. I felt like, oh my God, I'm not like another Kenyan film. And I've supported, so when we go back to maybe to films we've watched on TV, Machachari,
Yeah.
Papa Shirandula, and all that. I used to always wait for those films, and then it came to a point we used to see the same thing, especially like the ones that came after 10 p.m. I don't want to reference any particular film, but they had the same storyline. And as a consumer, yeah, for sure, I think I did have the same mindset, but I'm such pro Kenyan, pro African everything. So I did start watching films on Showmax, especially because of what Showmax advocates for, showcasing African films.
Yeah.
And I think that evolved with time. Yeah, not just joining DocuBox, but low key, I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. Yeah.
So it just feels like you are an example of what exposure can do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, from your exposure, I know you're very particular about not highlighting a single piece of work that you've seen, right? But so jitoe tu as a professional. Just ignore that MBA as a fan, right? Is there one East African project, like movie or documentary, that if you had the power to put it on Netflix, in matatus, because we were talking earlier and you said in 2023 you had a screening in Anganya,
yes,
which was so cool. Who came up with that idea? Was it you?
I wasn't there then, but yes, it's me.
Yeah, that was so cool.
Yeah.
So if you could pick one piece of work that you could screen everywhere, Netflix, in matatus, in classrooms, which one would it be and why?
I already have it on top of mind. That will be How to Build a Library. I'm actually wearing one of the shirts. So How to Build a Library is a film that follows Angela Washuka and another lady, forgotten her name, but basically they try to rebuild Macmillan Library. And in the film, you see that Macmillan was actually like only specific to whites. And I learned that on the film. And I'm like, what do you mean a library was only specific to like white people for use, right? So that will be the film I'll choose. They do go through a lot of challenges, trying to rebuild it, of course, politics and everything. But it's such an incredible film, and I feel like it will serve as a stepping stone for like just, even in schools, just learning about like how to fight for our history first of all, and how to like bring back things that serve us as a community. Yeah.
Do you have like a catalog of documentaries where we can watch them on demand, or like I can get into your website and just click play and I can see it?
Unfortunately, no. So we've been thinking around this idea, but I think now the problem with having them like out there is we want filmmakers first of all to get into festivals, and the only way people can watch them is we do premieres. Just follow us, and we do premieres, we do screenings every now and then, in communities, in schools, and even shots and shots, for example. So it's just for you to come and watch them. Because there's a whole nuance of putting your film out there when it hasn't, first of all, gotten its exposure like globally. It does ruin your chances getting into festivals.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's interesting too, because that would also help with the exposure bit of things. I think accessibility is another issue why people say movies feel the same, because maybe like with Showmax and Netflix, they want a certain type of movie that will go onto their platforms. But if you're daring enough to come to like your film festival and see what people have to offer, you'll see how diverse filmmakers are. It's just that maybe not so many people get to know about these film festivals, and everything is digital right now. So if there's a way people can find it at the convenience of their phones, laptops, TVs, then that would definitely help. All right, so we're just about to wrap up.
Okay.
And I want to still appeal to that consumer side of you. We talk about movies feeling the same, looking the same, so they are cliches. Is there a cliche you've seen, even currently with the short films you've seen over the years? You know, there's diversity, but there could be some cliches with Kenyan film. Is there one you want to see completely destroyed thanks to short shots, or even just, as you? Yeah.
Maybe me as a consumer, right? I feel like I want to answer it in that angle. Is definitely the whole thing about like Nairobi is a city hustle. I feel like we have so many stories, and when I saw one of the films, like I'm talking about Big Girl, Small World, I was like, these are the stories we want to see, because there's so much conversations about body, that's happening right now, especially with this digital age and all that. So I love that. And maybe to tie that in, we did a project called Kenya Creates, where we were basically supporting films that talk about body autonomy, but on a perspective of young people. One of the films called Home, done by Adele, by the way.
Called what?
Adele, Home. It's called Home, by Adele Onyango. And it's about, being in school, high school, and we know, I think most of the girls have experienced this, being in high school, being shamed, first of all, early teen pregnancy and all that. So the only cliche will be like, let's talk about more stories. There's more stories than just like the Nairobi city hustle. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So my final question would be with regards to the future, especially with the role that DocuBox and Shots is playing. Like in the next, say, 5 years or 10 years, where are you hoping the mindset of the Kenyan audience will be? And is there a move, or maybe even a risky change that you are hoping to spark in the Kenyan film industry?
I think the mindset will be like, first of all, like we spoke about, like the whole conversation we've had, like thinking that Kenyan films are the same. I hope that will change. First of all, embracing ourselves and our stories. So I do hope that changes. As far as DocuBox is concerned, and what we want to change is obviously tapping into like supporting more like wider stories, not just East Africa, because that's our area of operation. But I do think DocuBox definitely would like to advance and just tap into like, African as a wide, because I feel like as Africans, we are all one. And that's why you read our manifesto. So that would be something so interesting. And we have like Nairobi Film Festival, which I don't know how many people know about it, but having people go and literally see films from all over the region, Africa, is such an incredible experience. So I'm encouraging people to come and watch films during Nairobi Film Festival. And I feel like what I would love to see is just like people embracing films like in Kenya and just Africa as a wide. I know Nollywood is doing great right now, but in Kenya we do have a long way to go. But I would love to see people just having discourse. A film drops, go debate about it, give your feedback, because that's the only way we can improve. We always see like when Sinners dropped, everyone was talking about it. They learn how to improve off that, but we don't always have discourse. I feel like just seeing like that discourse getting back on the digital world, like, Twitter, wherever you share your opinions, would be great.
The discourse right now, I think discourse is there. Maybe it's limited because people don't want to be attacked and be told support Kenyan film. Like you come and say, the acting was a bit ish. Like, we are trying, you're not supporting us. So I feel like the discourse is there, but we are getting there. We're getting there. So like, if I was to completely summarize what you've said, and to like give a parting shot to the viewers, I would do it in 2 words, which are expose yourself.
Yes, perfect.
Expose yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, and we can put that on a t-shirt.
Yes. And come buy our t-shirts.
You're a prime example of someone who felt Kenyan movies were a certain way, and then after seeing loads of them, you're like, okay, we actually have something good in our hands here. Yeah, fantastic. So thank you for challenging my thinking and my mindset. Thank you for being an opposition. This thing we used to do in primary school. Thank you, Madam Speaker,
Yeah.
for opposing the notion
Yeah.
that Kenyan movies look and
I
feel the same. Thank
I
you.
oppose. I object.
Yeah, thank you for opposing
Yeah.
and giving us something to talk to and
Yeah.
giving us an example
Mhm.
and making us knowledgeable that there's a whole world of film that is yet to be discovered
Mhm.
in the Kenyan landscape.
Yes.
And all we need to do is expose ourselves.
Yeah.
So these are your 15 seconds of fame. Look into this camera. Tell the people where to find you.
Mhm.
You as a consumer, you as DocuBox.
Yeah.
What are the projects you have coming up and how we can expose ourselves?
Yeah. So I'm not gonna plug myself, but I'm gonna plug shots, and shots. Shots, and shots. The concept, like it's literally in the name. You come wearing shots. You watch short films. And then we take shots. So both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. So don't worry. Both people are catered for. It's going to be happening on the 19th of October in partnership with Nairobi Film Festival. The theme is around being literally what we just spoke about. Being African through our eyes. So we're going to be showcasing films around being African identity, our culture, our food, our heritage, and all that. So follow our page, Shots, and Shots. And yeah, I hope to see you there.
That was Gertrude Mblema
Yeah.
of DocuBox, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being a guest on
Thank you.
Certified Cinema.
Yes.
And we hope to see you soon.
Hope to see me soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And leading us into the break is Bien with All My Enemies Are Suffering. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from that short and sharp and fantastic music break. We just had All My Enemies Are Suffering by Bien. Na all the enemies wana suffer sahi because tuko na mafans wengi sana mbaya mbovu wanatupenda juice. This is airing number 10 out of 10. So all the haters are suffering and us we are enjoying. And after that we had Hot Body by Ira Star, followed by Fun by Rema, which dropped 6 days ago, and finally Trunks by A$AP Rocky from the soundtrack of the latest Spike Lee joint, Highest to Lowest. Which brings us to our review of the day, Highest to Lowest. Now, for those who don't know Highest to Lowest, this is the latest movie by director Spike Lee, starring the one and only all-time favorite black actor, that's my personal favorite, and the highly renowned Denzel Washington, the one and only. And this is interestingly an A24 film. So the moment you hear we have the trifecta of the good indie movie. We have A24 backing it up. We have Spike Lee, who is known for Do the Right Thing and The Five Bloods, Malcolm X, and which also won an Oscar and also got Denzel nominated for his role. And they're teaming up again for this new one called Highest to Lowest. Now, this movie follows Denzel playing the character known as David King, who is a music mogul and a producer. He's made his way to being the kingmaker in hip-hop and in rap. Same way we had Diddy, but this is a more reserved and a well-behaved Diddy. If Diddy did it right, if Diddy did it right and became a God-fearing, respectful family man, he would have been what David King was. And now we follow David King as, he's on his... We start with him in this place where he is at the highest point of his career, both, in the public eye, financially, but now we find him at the point of conflict where he is about to buy back his company, only to be hit by tragedy when someone kidnaps his son. Now, all this is, very tragic for him as a family man because it's his son, anything could happen to him. And the person who's kidnapped the son is asking for 17.5 million USD. Now, this 17.5 million USD is the same amount of money he could use to buy back his record label and boost him to a higher level, financially and even socially. And there's also this internal conflict where even if he buys back the record label, is he in it for the music or for the business? So there's a lot of conflict going on here, and then it's amped up when you actually discover that they actually didn't kidnap his son. They kidnapped his godson, who is his best friend's son. Now we get to this very critical point of moral dilemma, because they found his son, but now, are you willing to pay the ransom for your godson, for your best friend? And the question he keeps on asking himself is like, he's at this point where he's like, I don't need to pay the ransom, but just put yourself in a position where you are a billionaire, you have a very close friend who is not as financially stable as you are, but they've been with you through, all your life. They're basically, your brother or your sister. Now, your enemies have kidnapped their son, has kidnapped your best friend's son, because they thought this was your son. They were doing this to harm you. Do you give out the ransom because you want to save your best friend's son because they are family? Or do you say no, because why do you pay ransom for the kidnapper's mistakes? Why would you give out the money? And you remember, you need this money to save your record label. But the flip side of that is, that's the kidnapper's mistake. And if you don't do this, you're still bad. You have bad press, which still ruins your chances of you buying back your record label. And on top of that, you risk the chances of losing a long-time friend, especially because their child is in danger because of your enemies, So we got to that very critical point where he's constantly being begged by his family, his own son who was recovered, his wife, the best friend, even the police, his business partners, his colleagues at work, telling him, you really have to pay this ransom. But he's walking this tightrope. He's on his journey. This is the point where he could come. This is the decision that determines if he could come from his highest point to his lowest, or he could go to an even higher position. At this point, he is at his lowest. Say, now come from to the lowest to the highest position. So that was the most interesting thing about this movie. They had a very good concept on their hands. They had an A-list performer. But from the way I'm speaking, I think you can guess how it's going, because just like the character who we get to meet later down the plot, because eventually the conflict is resolved, they get the son, he pays the ransom, he loses the money, but he gets to meet the kidnapper, and he was a person with a lot of potential, but they chose the life of crime. And I feel that it's kind of meta, because this character, or like this plot, kind of describes the movie itself. This movie gives us the highest point of it, which is before watching the movie. Before watching the movie, my interest in this movie was at its highest. A24, Spike Lee, Denzel Washington, A$AP Rocky, Ilfenesh Hadera. We have that plot that I just mentioned. This massive conflict. His son is kidnapped. My peak was at its highest. But the time I finished watching it, it was at the lowest. And that's my take on the film. Now, what it did well was, again, the performances and setting up this tension, this place where, we get this feeling that it's going to be complicated and it's going to be dramatic and it's going to be everything that we've seen. We're going to expect a lot of complications because he's trying to get back his money and keep his family together and stay loyal to his friend. But all that falls flat and it becomes very, bland. The movie plateaus after that point because it's like we're just watching the movie now to finish it. And I found myself watching it just because it's a Spike Lee and a Denzel Washington movie. And I think it would have been more dramatic as a TV show. Because here's what happened, right? We get to that point, he pays the ransom, he decides he's going to pay the ransom, and then we get into this kind of zone where we're going through the journey as he's going to hand over the money. And there's the police around, and he still has to stay on the phone in case the kidnapper called and they can try to trap him. There's all this tension in the air, but it's all handled in a very, they try to keep it very civil and a very nonchalant kind of way. It doesn't dive into the tension, into the emotions, into the stakes at hand. And I think that also comes down to Denzel's performance in this one. Denzel is supposed to be the cool leader. He's the cool rapper, producer, kingmaker. And I found it that he was actually very cool to the point where things are happening, shit is going sideways, but he still keeps his cool. He still gives his big hugs. He still makes his inside jokes with his best friend and his son. And that crossed over into that point where we needed to see his emotion, the tension, his confusion as he's going to hand over the ransom money. And that's where the movie fails. We fail to feel the danger and the stakes up to that point. And the moment he hands over the money, it's just like, this movie is over. And then you look at the time and it's like, oh, it's just 1 hour. We have another hour to go. And it just feels like, we've seen what we've needed to see. It doesn't offer any more drama or any more stakes after that point. And you have you have 1 more hour to try to figure out, okay, what's next? How is he going to play? And that's why I say, but that's what I mean when I say I found myself watching it just because it was a Denzel and a Spike Lee movie, because I just had to finish it. But if I finish it at the 1 hour mark, I just know that's it. That's the end of the movie. And I can tell from there, they'll probably do their own investigations in the hood and get the rapper, the kidnapper who kidnapped his son, who's played by A$AP Rocky. So maybe at some point we'll also just watching it to see A$AP Rocky because we saw him in the trailers. So I was pretty disappointed by this one because there was a lot of potential. There was a lot of hype about this. I was expecting to see a dramatic story of someone, a grace to grass story because of this whole kidnapping situation, but we never got there. It plays it safe. The character plays it safe. The story and the director play it safe. I don't feel like the character is really pushed to the wall to feel like he's at his lowest moment. His son has been kidnapped. His business is he's at the brink of losing his business, but we never feel that lowest moment. He meets this young aspiring rapper who points a gun to his face. His life is literally in danger, but we don't feel that lowest moment. It's like he's a cool guy and he's supposed to keep it cool all the way. I really 100% love Denzel and the way he portrays his characters, the way he has the know-how to bring the emotion, to bring character and charisma and swag to each of the characters he portrays. But I feel like this one fell short. At some point, he had to bring in the drama and the emotion that we've seen in the likes of, like Malcolm X and Johnny Q. But he just wanted to keep it cool, like Detective Alonzo all through. Oh my God, even Detective Alonzo was so full of charisma. You shot me in the ass. Okay, wait, Jake. Hold on now. King Kong ain't got shit on me. Like, yeah, let's see the fire. But he was really doing his best to maintain being the cool guy who has, who maintains his cool and composure, even in the most harrowing of moments. And I feel like we shouldn't have to have seen that. At some point he had to drop it and just make us feel the tension of a father who is about to lose his son, a man at the brink of losing a loyal best friend, at the brink of losing his empire that he built over the course of 50 plus years, and he's looking for the next best thing to bring him from his lowest to his highest, but we never feel that lowest point. Yeah. So for me, I feel like I would have stopped watching it after the first hour, but I didn't because I have to, finish it because of the hype and because I wanted to see. I was giving it that benefit of the doubt that it's Spike Lee. Something will come out of this, and it's A24 and it's Denzel. But it really didn't deliver that for me, after the first, throughout the second half. So I believe that highest to lowest was, I would say, one of when I'm ranking Denzel and Spike Lee's filmography, I would, it's on the lower half of their filmography, because I expected a lot from this, and especially, the lead up to this whole story was so fantastic. The conversations, the situation itself, the moral dilemma in here, you can just feel that this was going to be fantastic. And they just played it safe. They played it cool, just like King David. That's my entire problem with the movie, and which makes up my entire sentiment about the whole movie. And I also was not a fan of the music. This, given this was a movie about someone in the music industry, especially hip hop and rap, I expected, the music, the soundtrack would be something to die for, something I would walk away feeling like, okay, yeah, I have to look for this soundtrack and play it back to back to back. Trunks was a good thing to hear, and I love Trunks. I love, we had 2 tracks coming out of this song. This was Trunks by A$AP Rocky, and the other one was Eyes Closed, which was still by A$AP Rocky. And I expected this to come at very pivotal moments in the film. But again, they still played it safe. It was very brief, very, not so hard hitting. They weren't so tied into what we were seeing on screen, which was disappointing to see. And the soundtrack itself, because we're talking about a rapper and a producer here, the soundtrack felt like they had like 2-3 songs in their score that they kept recycling, and the song didn't match the tension that was supposed to be on screen. So that also didn't help bring up that emotion or that feeling of tension of what's happening. I was really underwhelmed by the music, and this being a musical project, I expected to see, some more experimental and even some more fun, hard-hitting hip-hop tracks coming out of this one. Think about like when we had, like Creed, for example, we have a whole soundtrack coming out. Think about like 8 Mile or Stomp the Yard, movies that are very hip-hop inclined. Even Empire, we had some drip, drop, drippity drop, because it's about music, but we don't feel the music oozing out of this movie. We don't feel the background of this character that he actually is a music mogul. This is the man with the best ears in the industry. So if you have the best ears in the industry, show us the best tracks, Let your movie have the best tracks. But anyway, maybe that's me. They say it's the hope that kills, and maybe my expectations are way too high. But personally, I feel kind of let down by this. I will try to give it another watch just to see what are the nuances that I missed. I ride heavy with Denzel like that and Spike Lee, so I'm not giving up on them yet, right? Because I still want to understand the direction with this. But not to say that the entire movie was terrible. One thing that I loved for sure, again, was Denzel's performance. Denzel put out a very fantastic performance in showing us the kind of man that David King is. I just feel like, this performance should have, been there are certain points in the movie where it's actually more of the character than the performance, where the character should have been toned down, and Denzel, I know he would work his way to showing more emotion in these high tension places. But being someone who was supposed to be charismatic, someone who's supposed to be a leader, keep his head cool during these moments, Denzel did a fantastic job at doing what the script needed him to do and adding his own flair and charisma to it. I always give it up to Denzel for doing that. I just feel sometimes the stories that he's put in, if a movie doesn't do well, it's up to the story. But Denzel really knows how to bring that coolness to a character, And it was fascinating to see and something to look up to, you're in danger, but you're still keeping it lovely with your family. I absolutely love that. And I love that this was a, Spike Lee story coming from Black excellence. We're used to seeing Spike Lee wanting to make a statement, given he tells stories about characters that showcase the black man's plight. But in this time, this movie, we are shown a man from Black excellence. A man who did everything in his power, kept his head down, used his talents, and now he's at the highest point in his life. He's thriving, he's the man, and he's making everything work despite what everyone is telling him. And I absolutely love that we have this new side, this new side of Spike Lee, this new theme. And if we can get more of this, maybe that will be experimental. And that's what we like to see, him being more experimental and telling stories out of his comfort zone. And when I think about it that way, that maybe explains why that this was a bit of a letdown from what I know and what we all expect from Spike Lee. This is a movie that took him out of his comfort zone, and he is in the process of experimentation, and that's why we got what we got, So shout out to him for trying out something not, something that we're not used to. I also like that there was some style to it, in the sense that, that rich nigga style, trying to keep it in the suburbs. It just felt very, very grounded. Like if someone was to kidnap your son and you're a billionaire, the police would be all over around you. Everyone, the social media people, everyone would just be in your space, but he also tried to keep it with the character. So I'd say those are the positives of the movie. Despite being let down, it's not without its positives. And I think the problem with this is the expectations overshadowing the results, and that's why I personally feel let down. But hey, let me know what you think. It's out on streaming right now. If you have a subscription to Apple TV Plus. Make sure you go see it there. Yeah, I have a rich friend who has Apple TV Plus. That's where I was able to watch it from. Ha 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 ha. But yes, anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that was highest to lowest. So let me know what you think about it. Let me know if you loved it, or if you're like me, you just watch it because it was Spike Lee and Denzel. Let me know what were the positives, what were the negatives, and what you expected out of this, and if your expectations were met. Feel free to comment at Certified Cinema KE on Instagram, on our comment section, or at Icon Radio KE. Shoot us a voice note or a DM on our WhatsApp number, writing down your screen, and we would love to hear what you have to say about this. So we're going to go into a short music break, and leading us to that is Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters, which is said to be the most popular movie on Netflix ever, right? So if you haven't watched it, go watch it. But I absolutely love the soundtrack because, that's a perfect example of a movie that touches on music, and we got killer soundtracks and songs from this. And a perfect example of one of my favorite tracks from K-pop Demon Hunters is Golden. Take a listen. Ladies and gentlemen, from that fantastic music break, and leading us into that music break was Golden from K-pop Demon Hunters. I absolutely love that one. I never thought I could be such a K-pop fan. I always looked at K-pop fans and be like, "Is name naimba ati sijui BTS Army." But damn, this is so infectious, man. I sing this in the shower. Sijui wamenifanya aje. But I absolutely love this one. The vocals, the beats. I feel like this is now when pop is popping. I love it. It's golden. I'm going to be listening to it again. Train my vocals to sing better in the shower. And right after that, we had Locked and Loaded by David. He spells this as D4VD or D4VD. Yeah. This is from Fortnite. And finally, we brought it back home, and we have Partner in Crime by Nyashinsky this is one of his latest singles, and I absolutely love the chill vibes on this one. Definitely something to kick it back to with some hot cocoa and some cuddles with your partner in crime. Huna hiyo? Pole. I don't envy you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, news and updates, right? So you guys are always asking, how do you know all these things? How do you know what to be hyped for, what to expect, what's coming in 2027? Why is it that when things drop, guys are so excited and, ready to put down their money and rush to cinemas to watch this? It's because you gotta keep up with the times, my friend. You gotta keep up with the times, bruh. You gotta know what's going on in the industry. And if you don't know, you tune into Certified Cinema na tutakujulisha. So that's what we're here to talk about, right? So what's making waves right now? And off of the top of my head, and because of my bias towards this particular franchise and this particular brand, which is DC. Number one, Superman, Man of Tomorrow. That is the sequel to 2025 Superman, has just been announced, and it will be dropping on July 9th, 2027. This was teased by James Gunn through a post, and it was done in a very cool way that comic book fans will really like and appreciate. If you're a comic book fan, then you are familiar with Jim Lee, and you're also into the art and how these comic book characters are portrayed. Jim Lee is a comic book artist who is also now the CEO and the lead at DC Comics. Now, James Gunn is the lead at DC Studios, but when you come to DC Comics itself as the brand, he is the one at the helm. And I love that, he was an artist, he understands the art, and is working hand in hand with another artist that is James Gunn to bring Superman and all our DC properties and characters to life. And so the announcement was very comic book-like, was very attuned to DC fans, where we had the comic book art of David Corensweth's Superman leaning against Lex Luthor in his suit, and I hope we finally get that suit. And the plot for this is that the two have to team up against a bigger threat. My guess is this bigger threat is maybe Galactus, or maybe Lobo. I don't know, because there were talks about Jason Momoa also playing Lobo in the new DC universe, and I hope we get to see that, because that is one person who absolutely whoops Superman's ass to the point where it would be a clever thing to actually team up with Lex Luthor to whoop this nigga's ass. Yeah. So I feel like, I'm excited because we're here to see who the threat is. I have those two in mind, Brainiac and Lobo. Either way, it's very interesting because these are two people who always give Superman a hard time. And seeing him team up with Lex Luthor, who might want to redeem himself, gives us an interesting story, because how are these two people who absolutely hate each other, but they hate being more on Lex Luthor's side, how are they going to work together? Is Lex going to redeem himself, and will Superman trust him to do so? And what is the bigger threat that they are facing? Is it Lobo, who always kicks Superman down, or is it Brainiac? We're yet to see. And that's why Superman, Man of Tomorrow, is on my 2027 list. Once again, it's coming out in July 9th, 2027. And today, James Gunn announced that they are targeting to begin filming in April of 2026. So they have approximately, the entirety of 2026 to be done with filming and production, and then start marketing. So we have a long way to go, but the future is bright. We have a lot to think positively, and we hope when more news comes, it will still keep us excited. But 2027, July 9th, I will be there. Coming down to item number 2, which is Street Fighter. The famous fighting game is also getting adapted into a live action film. Now, the last time this happened, we had this movie in the 90s. I remember watching it as a kid, starring Van Damme as Commander Guile, and it was fun to watch, right? Personally, as a kid, I loved it. And then you grow up and see it was critically panned. Me, I don't care. I don't want to know about that. I loved it. But in all fairness, there is room for suspicion on this, given the current trend of video game movies always flopping. Video games are very interactive because you are actually in the shoes of the character and are the ones going through the adventures. So when it comes to video games, they tend to take a more aesthetic run, because we already know the story, we already know the storylines, the character arcs. So the only thing they have going for them is the aesthetics, the costumes, the moves, the fights. That's why they haven't been properly adapted. That's why there's room for suspicion, but there's room for hope with Street Fighter, because they keep on improving their movies. And because if you're still keeping it on the aesthetics bit, they just announced the entire cast of Street Fighter. And this is very crucial, because we have some very interesting casting choices from famous actors in small roles and small actors that we've seen in smaller projects in big roles. So it's a make or break opportunity for some characters, and it's a means for some of the big characters to stay relevant by being in these big blockbuster projects. So who do we have as a portrayer, as an actor, in which role? So for the duo of Ryu and Ken Masters, we have Andrew Koji as Ryu, and we have Noah Centineo as his American counterpart and brother Ken. Coming up, we have Chun-Li, the one and only Chun-Li, the famous Chun-Li, the beautiful, gorgeous Chan-Li that everyone cosplays and has posters in their rooms about. Chan-Li, the one that Nicki Minaj loves to reference, is being played by Kalina Liang. We have Jason Momoa in this one, playing the Brazilian creature or monster known as Blanca. We have Cody Rhodes, who is a WWE star, playing Guile. Now, I feel like this is very aesthetically in line with how we are used to Guile. Guile was previously played by Van Damme, who was a martial artist, playing the commander in this one. And now we have Cody Rhodes, who is playing Guile. And I feel, aesthetically, yeah, for me, he does it. Fight-wise, I'm yet to see. If he can bring that in, sure. So we just have to see. We have another WWE star in this one, Roman Reigns, playing Akuma. Now, Akuma is the guy who is, in the last Street Fighter movie was the villain to Ryu and Ken. So he also embodies that physicality, which is a good thing to see. And I'm hoping he will, bring in that villainy and that physicality, and he will blow it out of the water with this one. We have another big name, which is 50 Cent, Curtis Jackson himself, playing Balrog. Now, there have been some rumors about 50 Cent, people saying, oh my God, I'm so disappointed to see 50 Cent aging. And these pictures were coming from him being on set of Street Fighter. So, and Balrog is supposed to be a huge guy, also physically present. So 50 Cent makes sense. But some people are kind of, heartbroken, seeing like, oh, this is our 50 aging. But I have no doubt about him being in this role and the physicality he will bring. And finally, as a huge, huge role, we have David Dastmalchian as General M. Bison, who is the biggest antagonist in this one. Now, M. Bison is always an over-the-top character. And I feel like David always does a good job with such characters. You can think about Polka Dot Man in the Suicide Squad. The James Gunn directed the Suicide Squad. And he was also in The Dark Knight as the decoy who was arrested as the Joker. So he knows how to bring these weird over-the-top characters to life. And I am absolutely content with this casting of David Dastmalchian as M. Bison. Now, others, just to go over quickly, we have Eric Andre, the comedian, as Don Savage. We have Vidyut Jamwal as Dalsim. We have Orville Peck as Vega, Olivier Richards as Zangief, Hiroki Goto as E. Honda, Mel Johnson as Kami, Rihanna Vallandingham as Julie, Alexander Volankovsky as Joe, and Kyle Mooney as Marvin. And the movie is coming out in October 16th, 2026. Filming has already begun, and I am 70% content with this casting, especially with the big people. And so I can't wait to see if this one will survive the video game movie cast. And I surely hope it does, because Street Fighter is close to my heart. Coming in at number 3 is Knives Out 3. Wake Up Dead Man has also been announced. Now, the trailer dropped earlier this week. I believe it was Tuesday. And once again, Daniel Craig is coming back as Benoit Blanc. And as always, Knives Out is, the detective mystery movie where we also feature a lot of A-listers. Now, in this one, we are trying to figure out, or Benoit Blanc rather, is trying to figure out the murder of a priest. This guy comes in, gives his sermon, goes into the back door, and then 30 seconds later, so he's murdered. We hear screaming, he's murdered. So who actually murdered him? And I love Knives Out, how it always gives us this murder mystery, trying to find out who is the killer in the room, what are the motives. I love that it always walks us through that journey. And I'm excited for this one, and I hope you are. Now, the interesting thing with this one is Knives Out is always, since Knives Out 1 and 2, has always been a Netflix production. Now, Netflix is a streaming site, so all their movies naturally go to streaming. But this one is getting a theatrical release. So all those people saying streaming is killing cinema, it seems like streaming is depending on cinema now, because it will have a cinematic theatrical release in select theaters though. They already had a release in September, I believe. And then now it will be released to the public in select theaters in November 26th before finally coming to streaming on December 12th. So watch out for that one in terms of the movie itself and the conversation about streaming versus cinema. That one is definitely going to bring up that conversation. Netflix relying on cinema to get more clout, and so cinema seems to be still very, very relevant cultural wise, despite streaming taking over and ruling the entertainment scene. So I hope it comes to Kenya. Maybe we might get a week or two out of it. I will definitely see it in cinemas and of course on Netflix. Coming up, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3 has also been announced, with the trailer dropping late last week. Now, this is a big one because Season 2 broke our hearts. With the Shibuya incident, we lost a lot of main characters. So it's fantastic to see who has survived and who is coming back for this one. And it ended in a very tragic way where the public has been shut out of Shibuya and our guy, he's stuck in there still, and people are still coming for him. We lost Gojo, bruh. So a lot of people were left unalived on this one, and people are so mad at Gege. But if Season 3 is coming, I don't read the manga, I follow the anime itself. So me personally, January 2026, count me in. And finally, another movie that has just been announced and the trailer actually dropped is 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. Now, this year we saw 28 Years Later, which is one of the best movies I've watched this year. Very dramatic, the most beautiful and emotional zombie movie I have seen in a while. And so I'm glad to see that The Bone Temple is coming out as a sequel to that in January 6th. We get to see more detail into the story of the doctor played by Ralph Fiennes. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And we get to see, the law of how people have been surviving across these 28 years. Getting to see more gangs, more new parts of London, and how the infection and the rage virus has been causing havoc and how people have been surviving. Now, there's still some room for discourse there because people are not so sure about the director, because this is the same director who made the Marvels, which people were not so enthusiastic or not so pleased about. But it's 28 years later, man. I mean, what could go wrong? We've had 28 days later, 28 weeks, 28 years, 3 out of 3 for me. So hoping they make it 4 out of 4. My hopes are up there, and I'm sure this will be a good one. So that's all we have for you today, folks, in terms of news and updates. Just to do a quick rundown, Superman, Man of Tomorrow, coming on July 9th, 2027, with shooting slotted to begin in April 2026. Secondly, the cast for Street Fighter has been announced, and Street Fighter will be coming to theaters on October 16th, 2026, and we have heavy hitters in very pivotal roles like Andrew Koji as Ryu, Noah Centineo as Ken, Jason Momoa as Blanca, Kalina Liang as Chan-Li, Cody Rhodes is in this one, Roman Reigns, 50 Cent, and David Dastmalchian, just to name a few. Thirdly, Knives Out 3 is coming on Netflix December 12th. And this one is called Wake Up, Dead Man. And it will also be having a release in theaters starting November 26th. However, this will be in select theaters. So the conversation there, streaming versus cinema, is streaming now depending on cinema. Jujutsu Kaisen Season 3 coming in January 2026. And 28 years later, The Bone Temple coming out in January 6th. So 2026, we're eating good. January, October confirmed. July 2027, minta kuwapo for Superman, Man of Tomorrow. And now we go for a short break before we come back for Read the Room, where we will be highlighting movies and TVs to watch this week based on global happenings. But before that, let's bring it back home with some music. And coming up is Charisma with Sina Noma. Welcome back to our final segment of the show, Read the Room. But before that, we had a wonderful music break. I was standing up and losing my head hapa hivi kwa studio because we had Sina Noma by Charisma. We brought it home because the conversation today was about the local scene. So musically, wacha turudishe home kidogo in Kenya and in Africa. Then we had Isaka 6 a.m. by Caesar featuring Jazzworks. And we had Tonight remix by the lovely Nikita Kering featuring Lil Minor. And then we brought it back to one of the songs that is a staple in the anime community, because in Read the Room you are going to be talking about anime, which is Gurenge by Lisa. Absolute banger. Lisa never misses. Lisa and Creepy Nuts, they never miss. So washikane tu hivi, they just combine and then come up with a banger. I don't know for what anime that would be. I don't know what anime studio would afford them on one track, but it would be experimental and it would be lovely to hear them on one track. This one was the OP for season 1, and I'm sure we're going to get more. Which brings us to Read the Room, which is our segment where we highlight movies and TV shows to watch this week based on global events in entertainment and in current affairs. And starting with a global phenomenon that has been making moves in entertainment, specifically in the anime scene, is Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. All of us have been waiting to see the end of Kibutsuji Muzan. And we finally get to see this in the biggest way possible, on the biggest screen possible. We used to pray for times where in Kenya we would get to see anime screenings on the big screen. We would write proposals when I was working at a cinema, write proposals, do events, hoping for people to turn up, and people would turn up. And finally, all that hard work has paid off, and we have one of the biggest releases of the year, which is Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. This came out in Japan, but now it's coming in Kenya and globally during this period of September 12th, which is tomorrow. But there were advanced screenings around the world, and Kenya was also one of the luckiest countries to have an advanced screening, which happened yesterday at Century IMAX. Now, this is coming to IMAX, so if you can afford IMAX, make sure you go see it in IMAX, but make sure you just see it in whatever screen that is closest to you. If there's a cinema close to you playing Demon Slayer Infinity Castle, please make sure you go to this screening, buy a ticket, walk into the cinema and watch this movie. Reason being, this is the best way to experience all that action, all that emotion. This is the best and the highest form of entertainment experience in which you can experience a film. And what better way to support the culture and to enjoy yourself than watching it in the cinema? So you hit two birds with one stone. So rush to the nearest cinema to you and watch Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. And this will also allow us to, as people in the industry, to make a case for getting more niche and even more entertaining and bigger anime titles. So for all my anime fans out there, all my animation fans, or if you are a lover of film and good TV and cinema, go watch Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. Doesn't matter if you've seen season 1, 2, 3, 4. When you walk into this, it's an anime film, so it's kind of a standalone thing. You get a thing or two. If not, tafuta tu recap YouTube, alafu ingia kwa cinema. Buy your ticket for Demon Slayer Infinity Castle at the biggest screen or the biggest cinema or a cinema near you. Short and sharp. Buy your ticket now. Number 2 is Fist Fight. Now, Fist Fight is a comedy movie starring Ice Cube and Charlie Day about two teachers who get into a heated argument and decide to duke out and to settle their dispute in a fist fight. Remember in high school where you had high school or primary school where you had students who get into an argument and then be like, meet me at the back of the hall. Nyuma ya DH pale, wewe tuheshimiane, tutapatana. Ama after preps, tuzima light hapa ndani tuheshimiane. Now imagine teachers doing it. Yeah, that's how absurd of a concept this is, and it's absolutely funny. I love it. Now, why am I selecting this movie? It's because today morning, the lecturers just announced an impending strike because of salaries. Now, this ties into fist fight because the whole reason for having this fist fight, having teachers publicly exchange blows in front of the whole school, in front of students, in front of the media, because this was an absurd situation where these two teachers got into a school dispute about how they handle teaching and disciplining students. The whole reason this fight was staged in the movie was to make a statement about the state of public schools and the extent to which teachers have been, the state of the schools and what the teachers have to deal with. So the fight was just a proxy, because now they would be asked, okay, now what are you guys fighting about? And it would be a chance for them to make a statement about, social media and students and why students are zoning out of class and the poor facilities in schools that make students have to make their own way at home or be creative with what they have, So this brought to mind the state of, the lecturers right now who are about to go on strike. They may not be doing a one-on-one fist fight, but this is definitely a fight for their livelihoods. There has been a lot of discontent with the current government right now, and this is one of the signs of an unhappy nation because it's a threat to our education system that the lecturers are striking. So to give you some context onto that, go watch Fist Fight, where we can laugh at our problems, but also have you thinking about what it's like to be a teacher in the public sector, and maybe give you more insight and stoke your curiosity into the lecturer's strike. And stay tuned to Icon Radio on our shows where we will be giving you more updates on the situation as it unfolds. And finally is to beseech you to watch the ongoing TV shows of the week. There have been shows that have been released throughout the month and are still ongoing. So Dandadan comes out every Thursday. Peacemaker Season 2 is still ongoing. And Alien Earth Season 1 is gearing up for its 8th episode. So, in summary, buy your ticket now for Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. If you're a lover of anime, a lover of animation, and you want to see more of this coming to the big screen, buy your ticket, rush to the cinemas starting September 12th. Go watch Fist Fight because this touches on or relates to the ongoing lecturer strike. It was a movie where the characters were trying to make a statement about the current state of their school and the public sector by going on a literal fist fight. It's a comedy movie starring Ice Cube and Charlie Day, one that will get you laughing your guts out and have you thinking about the educators of our generation and the state of public education. And finally, go watch the latest episodes of the ongoing TV shows, that is Dandadan Season 2, Peacemaker Season 2, and Alien Earth Season 1. And that is our time for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for tuning in to episode number 10. This is 10 out of 10. We've had certified guests on Certified Cinemas. Thank you to all the guests who have been courteous enough to grace us with their time here and their opinions. Thank you to you for liking our videos, for following our accounts, for sending in your voice notes on your reviews of movies, and always being part of the conversation. And we hope to see you here each and every Thursday from 6 p.m., 8 p.m. here at Certified Cinema, your number one entertainment plug for all things movies and TVs, only on Icon Radio. And I am your ever dependable host, movie reviewer, recommender, and nerd evangelist, Champez Nawiri, leaving you with the Saja Boys, your idol from the K-pop Demon Hunters soundtrack. See you next Thursday.